Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an entrepreneur from New Delhi, India, Mr. Amit Singhi. Amit, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Amit is the co-founder of Qurex, and today we're going to be speaking about the amazing company he has founded and what the plans for Qurex are. So my first question to you, Amit, is what inspired you to co-found Qurex and what is its primary mission?
So, it's an amazing story. I have been in healthcare for almost 10 years, out of which 6 years was with two very prominent startups in the healthcare space, Healthify Me and MFine. I have spent around 4.5 years in MFine, and one interesting thing that I noticed was people want to discuss sexual health concerns, but there is no space really where they can come talk in a judgment-free manner and solve this concern. Other side of the story was that Shalja, who is my co-founder, came across one such concerns in her very close group where a couple was getting divorced because of sexual dysfunction. Because we knew each other from before, we started jamming around this. I had access to a lot of user concerns and feedback around sexual health, and she has seen it in a very close circle. And we realized that while it would take balls to start something around sexual health, right? It's not easy in our society. The stigma does not remain only towards the patient's end, but it's also the founder's end. But we decided, we'll move beyond the eyebrows and start Qurex. The mission is very simple. So I'll tell you how Qurex also come. Qurex is curing the X part of your life. And is how do we create a platform where we solve for the X part, the parts which you are not comfortable about, right? Sexual, be it mental, right? Things that are hush-hush in nature.
Fascinating, fascinating. And what would you say is the current state of the sexual wellness ecosystem in our country?
Honestly, I'm positively surprised. When we started, even before the idea of Qurex, we wanted to do a lot of user research just to be doubly sure. I was putting a very rich career in line because of this startup. Similarly for Shelja, it was a painstaking task to talk to 40 people just to really understand if our thought process is feasible or not, if people would be willing to come to us or not. It took us 3.5 months to talk to 39 people across different years. Know that the problem really exists. But the question mark was, will people come to us? If 39 people come to you in 3.5 months, you are really questioning whether it will be a scalable business or not.
Right.
But actually, month on month, we are growing very fast. And one thing that I've understood about the sexual wellness ecosystem is people are more aware about what they want. So if you look back 30, 40 years ago, it was just an act of procreation.
Correct.
Now it is perceived as an act of pleasure. Because of a lot of gender equality conversations now, women also know what they want and are vocal about it. So with all of these nuances, sexual wellness as an ecosystem is evolving very fast. 100% positively surprised.
Amazing. Thank you. And are you seeing similar trends globally, or are some parts of the world much more advanced on this topic than we are?
I'll share something with you, which because you travel so much, you may be able to relate to it. The male ego is not limited to a developing or an underdeveloped economy. The male ego is a problem across the globe, be it a developed economy or an underdeveloped economy.
Right.
Which means that while sexual wellness as an ecosystem is better developed in other countries like, say, maybe UK or US, but it is only limited to better awareness with respect to sexual transmitted disease or easy availability or to buying Viagra for performance. But when it comes to curing sexual health concerns, I think men across the globe feel vulnerable. They feel reluctant to talk to, and there are very few right solutions which can really help men, specifically men, around this. Why I'm saying men? Because one thing that very particularly came in our research was one person said that जैसे women के पास gynecologist होता है, men के पास भी male gynecologist होना चाहिए, where we go and ask these concerns.
Very interesting. Fascinating. Thank you. And what are some of the key products and services that you offer at Qurex?
So honestly, when we started Qurex, our aim was to just create a solution that works. No gimmick. So we did not reinvent the wheel when it comes to solution. Our solution is plain and simple. Normally, if you would go to a doctor, a sexologist, what would happen is the doctor would possibly prescribe you some medicine, would ask you to talk to a sex therapist, because sexual health is not body only. It's a combination of mind and body.
Right.
Means mindless medication would not work. Mindless medication would possibly negatively affect your concern. If you take medicine in a limited dosage and start following up on therapy, it will work better. So this is all we did. So Qurex is not a new solution, no reinvention of wheel. It is just a tech-based platform to ensure we can deliver this solution in an anonymized manner. Because like I was talking about male ego, if I have sexual health concern, I don't want many eyes to see me while entering a sexologist clinic. So that is what we are solving. The solution is very simple.
Fascinating. And, as you mentioned a few minutes back, in a country like India, we still have a lot of cultural barriers. And while things have started to change in the large cities and the mini metros, it still exists all over the country. How are you addressing the cultural barriers across the entire country? Because this is almost like a taboo subject to talk about.
So honestly, people don't want to talk about it, but it is not that people don't want a solution for it.
Absolutely.
Very fascinating number is 50% of Qurex users are from tier 1 and 50% are from tier 2 and tier 3.
Wow.
Which means, in fact, I'll give you a very interesting anecdote which I received during our research. In tier 2, tier 3, people go to a chemist. People subtly ask for performance pill. They generally choose the one which is the costlier. Because the perception around this is महंगा है तो बेहतर है.
Absolutely.
And think about it, in a tier 3 city, the only kind of pleasure that a man can afford is sex. It's not movies, it's not mall, it's not regularly going out, right? So for them, sex is even more important. They don't have 10 other things to really resort to. So from that perspective, I think across India, for sure, no matter how much the taboo is, but people who have concerns want a solution. And the only thing that we are doing better or trying to do better is how do we create that awareness that help is here whenever you need it.
Very interesting. And Amit, one of the things that I've often discussed with many people is the importance of education, certainly of the young people, but certainly of men or boys about sexual wellness. Because as we are growing up in school, there are a lot of unnecessary kind of myths that are floated around in everyone's mind. My question is, what role does education play in improving sexual awareness, and what is happening in our country?
I think education always plays a pivotal role. A lot of the schools in India still does not have sex education. In fact, we have worked with few schools here in Delhi. We have delivered sex education to class 5, 6, and 7. We have a program called I Am Growing Up. It is not a core product of Qurex, but like you said that education in India is very important. We wanted to do our bit. So we keep trying to work with schools and we have created a content which they can consume and help their students better. In addition to this, honestly, I think when we talk about education, sex education is not limited to kids only. Ideally, there should be a program from maybe 10 years to 40 years.
Correct.
Because lack of better emotion, you and I equally need to be educated because we were not taught when we were younger. India has 3 crores unwanted pregnancy every year. 2.5 lakh plus people suffer from STD every year. This is only because we are not properly educated. So from that point of view, I think a lot of what we want to do is create the right content so that we can make users aware. And thankfully, it's not just us. There are so many influencers now who are talking about orgasm inequality, or talking about body, or talking about sex as a pleasureful activity, how to be more aware about your feelings, your desire, your body. So I think collectively together, I think all of us are trying to move the buck when it comes to education, and it's not limited to kids only. It's for all of us.
No, I agree completely. I just wanted to understand how young should we start educating. That was what my question was. But I completely agree. I mean, people much older also need to be aware about these things. You're so right. But over the years that you've been looking at this, and I'm sure you've studied this in detail, do you see the perception about wellness, sexual wellness, changing in our country?
Yes. So if you think about sexual wellness, right, let's try to divide this into 3 categories.
Yeah.
First is pleasure, second is performance, third is treatment. Pleasure mostly to do with self-pleasure. So if you think about it, this is a women dominant segment where a lot of sex toys and vibrators are being sold. So one thing that has happened positively in India and the world across is now people are taking charge of their own pleasure. In India also, we see hundreds of influencers talking about multiple companies coming in this space. Right now, if you want to buy a sex toy in India, most likely you will get the same delivered within 10 minutes on a blink. So that is how much advanced that we are. When we talk about performance, I think this requires crazy amount of education, because even today, a lot of India just relates performance to things like Shilajit, Ashwagandha, and Viagra, not knowing what they really are, not knowing the harmful implications that their body might undergo because of this. The third element is the treatment. I think this still requires a lot of opening up. The problem is, and I think a similar problem was faced would have been true for mental health concerns also. Sexual health is nothing but your body and a problem. So like a person has diabetes and he goes to a diabetologist, or like a person has heart related issue and he goes to a cardiologist, there is no reason why we should raise our eyebrows when someone has mental health concern and is going to a psychologist, or has sexual health concern and is going to a sexologist. It is body and its problem. Right? But the problem with sexual health is that if I am not able to perform, suddenly my manhood is in question. That point of view, I think India still needs a change of perception, a change of mindset. It'll take some time, but I think we'll be there.
Fascinating. And, when I was preparing for my conversation with you, I was also interested to see or learn that, you're talking of technology. How are you using innovative technologies to improve your products?
Like I said, I think a lot of the technology usage that we are doing is for awareness and education. So we use a lot of ChatGPT to ensure that if any of our users have any concerns or question around sexual health, and they still feel hesitant to talk to a person, they can actually go on our platform and use Dr. Curo, where they can ask certain questions, and a sexual health layered on ChatGPT would answer it. So no judgment, but answers. On the awareness bit, what we have done is we have created multiple indices. So we have something called SHI. Like, in health, generally, how do we track if someone is healthy or not? We check BMI. Are you overweight, underweight, etc. Similarly, for sexual health, we have created something called SHI, Sexual Health Index. And is once a user goes and answers some question, the user will be able to understand the specific concern he or she might be facing and implication of that in their personal life. Is it towards relationship, towards work, a combination of all? So awareness and education is something where we are using technology a lot. Of course, technology, we are a health tech organization and everything of our delivery is based on technology. But I would say that's the easy part. The difficult part is using technology to make the right information conveyed to the right people.
And the other aspect that is often a question when it comes to platforms, and in your case, you got a lot of, if I may use the word, sensitive information about your subscribers and users. What do you do to ensure privacy of data and safety of all the information?
So I think there are two aspects. First is people, second is processes. So from a people's aspect, what we have done is 50% of our organization is of psychologists who are well aware that this is a very sensitive subject, which requires no judgment at all from our end. On the process side, what we have done is we have created systems which are super secure. So our servers are HIPAA compliant and the access is not available to anyone but only one person in the organization, which means that overall in the organization, including me, I would not know who this user is. The only thing that I would know is this is the user ID. And their personal details, not the name, but personal details with respect to their concerns and treatment would only be available to the treating doctors. Means that if I am tagged to psychologist X and sexologist Y, only these two will have access to my information. Creating these smaller cohorts where data is only available to you if relevant for you, we have tried maintaining the anonymity and authenticity of our treatment.
Amazing. So we have time for two more questions. My next question is, how do you see the entire sexual wellness industry evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Honestly, I think given how fast things are changing, I don't know how things would change in 5 years. But one thing that I can definitely guarantee is a lot of AI will come to use. Very recently I was studying that now ChatGPT is a better psychologist than a human psychologist. Their awareness about a user's tonality is 99% accurate. Now imagine the average normal behavior right now in sexual health. Everyone would first want to self-medicate, which means that they would first go on Google, try to say that what are the concerns for erectile dysfunction, how can I solve it? A trend that we are already seeing is people are not going to Google, but people are going to a ChatGPT version first, right? And ChatGPT is already a therapist. So how I see this world evolving is in a few years, we'll have super sufficient data to train a Gen AI version of ChatGPT and make it a potent sex therapist.
Amazing.
So I think
what a great response. And my last question to you, as the co-founder of Qurex, what is your long-term vision for your company?
I think honestly, you will think that we are too ambitious because every time we talk to people, they tell us something and we believe we should do this. I was talking to someone in Armenia, someone in UK, someone in US. They mentioned that, Amit, you should start this here. We don't have something like this. And we thought we want to focus on global expansion eventually. I talked about ChatGPT and the sex therapist. Qurex is creating so much rich data on a daily basis that we are one of the very few companies who would have that potent data to eventually create a sex therapist, an AI version of sex therapist. We want to do that.
Amazing.
But I think, like I said, the vision and mission is very clear that we want to do everything which is authentic and right for our users, specifically foraying towards our vision of curing the X part of their life. We want people to live uncompromised.
Very well said. And on that note, Amit, just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me. It's been an absolutely amazing conversation about how you have founded Qurex and how you are using technology, and both you and your co-founder, all the skills that you have to handle the X factor, as you said so nicely in your explanation of what is the meaning of the word Qurex. Thank you also for speaking to me about so many different aspects of sexual wellness. I've often wondered why, in the land of the Kama Sutra, where there are Khajuraho temples, we are still, as Indians, considered to be such big prudes. We are the most populated country in the world, but we don't want to talk about procreation so easily and so openly. Thank you for all that you're doing, and all the very best to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashutosh. Thank you so much for making time. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
like I said, this is a hush-hush topic, and more conversation needs to happen around this so that we get more aware.
Absolutely right. Well said. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.